Hello everyone and welcome to the chapter number 75 of the Blender Master course, Character Rigging, Rigify Controls. In the previous chapter, we created a final rig for a character and even created a connection or a relationship between the final rig and the character. And in this particular chapter, we'll be understanding about the various things that we can do with the help of Rigify Controls in Blender. And for those of you who are new to this course, you can watch the previous 75 chapters from the link of the playlist given in the pinned comment. So we begin to model this character from the chapter number 70 of this course, and if you wish to download the 3D model of this character, then you can join the Patreon, whose link is available in the description of this video. Now returning back to our topic, let's first switch to the solid mode, and currently we are having this final rig that we created for this 3D character. Also, I will be hiding the clothes of our character along with the hair in order to understand about the Rigify controls in a better way. So first of all, I'll select the body, then go to the particle settings, and to hide the hair particles, turn off the real-time display from here. Then I'll select the t-shirt and press H to hide it. Similarly with the pants also, and at last I'll also select the shoes of the character and press H to hide them. Then in the scene collection, let's also hide the meta rig and the teeth of the character. The reason for doing all this is that currently we want only the final body and the rig in order to see how the Rigify controls work. Now by default, all the rig layers in the final rig of the character are visible in the scene. However, suppose you want to see only some specific layers like the ones for the torso or maybe only to control the hands, and to do this with the rig selected, go to the object data properties, and in the bone collections, you can control the specific bones or the layers of rig to be shown in the scene. For example, if I begin to click on this eye button for some specific bone collections, you will notice that they will begin to disappear from the scene. Also, to disappear all of them, simply hold the left mouse button on any one of the eye buttons and drag your cursor like this. Now all the bone connections have been hidden from the scene, and so in this way it will be better to only view some specific bones and understand about them. So first of all, we'll be understanding about the torso bones. So go to the bone collections, and in this list, we'll unhide the torso. Also, to view everything properly in the scene, let's turn on the X-ray mode by pressing Alt+Z, and this will display even those rigging controls which are present inside of the body of character. Now to make any changes in the character on the basis of these Rigify controls, we have to first enter the pose mode, because if I try to change anything in the object mode, for example if I try to move it, then you will notice that the character and the rigging is moving together as a whole and we are not able to control individual things in the character. So to enter the pose mode, press Ctrl+Tab, or else you can also click here and from this menu select the pose mode. Now all the controls that we have here can be moved by pressing G, or they can be rotated by pressing R, and in a similar way we can also scale them up by pressing S. And as you can see here, that whatever changes I'll make to any of the Rigify controls will automatically get applied to the character's body also. Now the first Rigify control that you have here is for the head, and if I move it, then you will notice that the head of the character will begin to move. Also, to rotate the head, simply press R to rotate it like this, but a much better way of rotation is to press R twice, and now if I move my cursor, then you will notice that the rotation of the head gets a much more natural look. Then over here, you have the controls for the shoulders of the character, and to see everything properly, I'll first enter the object mode and let's turn off the X-ray mode. Now in the pose mode, with the controls for the right shoulder selected, if I press G to move it, then you will notice that this control is helping us to change the location of the shoulder part of this 3D character. Similarly, if I press R to rotate it, then the shoulder part will get rotated like this. Then if I change the angle, then this particular control is for the neck, and if I try to move it by pressing G, then you will notice that we are able to control the neck of the character, and along with it, the character's head is also moving. Similarly, if I press R to rotate it, then the part of the 3D character related to the neck and the head will begin to rotate. Then over here, we have the Rigify controls for the chest, and by moving it, we can basically control the entire upper body of the character apart from the hands. Similarly, if I try to rotate it, then the upper body will get rotated like this. Moving ahead, this box over here controls the entire torso, because if I try to move it, then you will notice that the changes are being applied to almost the entire body except for the hands and the feet. In the previous one, which specifically controlled the chest, so when we moved it, it only controlled the upper body, but in this case, we are able to control not only the upper body but also the lower body of the character. Then over here, we have the Rigify control for the hips of character, and in most of the cases, we only use it to rotate the hip part by pressing R. So in this way, you can use the various Rigify controls available in the torso bone collection. Now suppose you do any changes using any of the Rigify controls to the character in the pose mode, and then you want to reset it, then for this, simply go to the pose menu, then in the clear transform, select all. and with this, the object will return back to its original state. Now moving ahead, we'll be understanding about the Rigify controls available for the fingers. So for this, go to the bone collection in the object data properties and we'll unhide the fingers controls. Now in the Rigify controls, for the fingers, we first have these 4 controls which we can use to rotate or bend the fingers of character. For example, if I select any one of them and press R to rotate it, then you will notice that we are able to rotate the finger around its base. But suppose you want to bend the fingers, then for this, with the control selected, press S and you will notice that the finger will now begin to show the bending effect. Similarly, we can also try the same with the other fingers. So if I press S, then the bending of fingers will occur, and if I press R to rotate them, then they will begin to rotate around the base of the finger. Also, by holding the shift key, we can select all of these controls for the fingers, and to use them together, first go to the transform pivot point and select individual origins, and now if I press S to scale them down, then you can see here that we are able to bend all the fingers of the character at the same time. Now moving ahead, in the fingers rigging, we also have this control which is for the palm of character, and if I try to move it, then you will notice that it's causing the deformation of the palm. So whenever you want to change the way how your palm looks or to basically deform it, then you can use the palm controls in the character's rig. Moving ahead, in the bone collections, we also have the fingers detail, and if I turn it on and go to the X-ray mode, then in this case, we'll be having some more controls available in the fingers of the character which will allow us to add some more detailing to the finger rigging. For example, if I select this particular control in the index finger and try to rotate it, then you will notice that we are now able to control this upper part individually of the index finger. Similarly, if I select this part on the tip of the finger and try to move it by pressing G, then you will notice that we are now able to control the tip of the finger individually, and similar is the case with all the other controls of the remaining fingers. Now moving ahead, let's also explore the Rigify controls available for the arm, and for this, go to the bone collections and we'll unhide this arm.L, which is the left arm, and in brackets IK is mentioned, meaning inverse kinematics. So we'll unhide this, and now you will notice that we are having these red colored controls added in the rig which we'll be using to control the arm of the character. So first of all, we have this control which is for the left hand of the character. However, if I try to move it by pressing G, then you will notice that it's not only controlling the movement of the hand, but along with it, it also controls the movement of the entire arm. To understand this in a much better way, let's go to the front view by pressing 1 on the numpad. Let's zoom out, and now with this hand control selected, if I try to rotate it, then in this particular case, the rotation will get applied only to the hands. However, if I try to move it, then unlike the rotation, this effect will be visible on the entire arm of the character. And so this is how the Rigify controls for the arm works in our scene. Now just like the left hand, we can also turn on the Rigify controls for the arm for the right side of the character. And for this, go to the bone collection again and unhide this arm.R, and in brackets IK will be mentioned. So let's unhide this, and now just like the left hand, if I try to do the same with the right hand also, then you will notice that we are able to see same changes for this one also. Moving ahead, in the arms control, we also have these red colored arrows, and these can be used to control the arms of the character individually. So basically, the hands will control both the arms and the hands together. However, if you want to control only the arms of the character, then for this purpose, you can use these upper arm controls. Similarly, on the right side also, we are having these arrow controls which are there to individually control the movement of the arms. However, in general cases, you will be using the hands control for most of the animations. Now before moving to the Rigify controls available for the legs, we'll first clear the transform of all the controls that we have applied on our character. So for this, press A to select everything, then go to the pose menu, and in the clear transform, select all. Now for the legs, go to the bone collection and we'll unhide this leg.L, and in brackets IK, which is for the inverse kinematic. So let's unhide this, and in a similar way for the right leg also, we'll unhide this leg.R and IK in the brackets. Now just like we were able to control the entire arm of the character just by moving the hand, in a similar way, the legs of the character can also be controlled by using this particular control which is for the foot of character. So with this selected, if I press G to move it, then you will notice that we are now able to control not only the movement of the feet of character, but with that, we are also controlling the movement of the legs. Similarly, if I press R to rotate, then in this case, the rotation will get applied only to the feet and not to the entire leg. Also, if I click on this arrow, which is for controlling the thighs, and try to move it, then you will notice that we are now controlling the leg of the character individually. But just like the arms, the more general way to control the legs is to use the foot control. One more thing to notice here is that if I select the arrows and press R to rotate them, then in this case, we are able to control the rotation of the thigh, or basically the leg of our character. Now moving ahead, for the feet of the character, we are also having some more controls, and to understand them, let's first reset all the changes that we have applied in the pose mode. So press A to select all, then go to the pose menu and in the clear transform, select all. Now let's go to the side view by pressing 3 on the numpad, and for the foot, the first control that we have is this one, which is for controlling the toes of the foot. So with this selected, if I press R to rotate, then you will notice that we are able to control the rotation of the front part of the feet, or basically the toes of the feet. Then over here, we have one more control which is named as foot spin, and if I try to rotate it by pressing R, then you will notice that it kind of rotates the foot around this point, and along with the foot, we'll also see the movement or the rotation in the legs of the character. And this thing is useful while creating an animation of showing the walking of the character. And now moving ahead, the next control that we have here is named as the foot heel. And if I try to rotate it, then you will notice that its main area of control is basically the heel or the back part of the foot. And so with this, we have now learnt about using the Rigify controls for all the parts of the body. However, there are still a few adjustments in order to make the rigging and the animation process perfect. For example, if I select this control for the chest and try to rotate it, then you will notice that the eyes, the eyebrows and the nose are not rotating properly with respect to the character's body, and so we'll be making all such adjustments in the next chapter of this course. But before ending, I'll press A to select all, then go to the pose menu and in the clear transform select all. And so our next chapter will be the chapter number 76, rigging adjustments in Blender. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press that notification bell so that you can get timely updates about the upcoming chapters. Thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next one.